Christmas was a particularly good one. Grandma had arrived from Texas the day of the concert and was staying until after New Year's Eve, even though that meant having to give up my bedroom and share a bed with Bevy, who kicked like crazy all night. It was really nice having her stay with us. She doesn't come up to stay very often because the bus takes so long to come from Texas, but she always sends me an American postcard once a month with exciting pictures of places and things that are so different from Canada. We all went to the midnight service on Christmas Eve at the United Church, which I always love. Everything is decorated so beautifully with a manger outside that has real animals. I paid particular attention to the choir, thinking maybe when I was older I could join them. Even though we were up late, Bevy and I still woke up early. It was too exciting to stay asleep. Mama and Dad weren't awake yet, so I took one of the dog's paws and scratched it on their door so they'd get up to let the dog out. Dad let the dog out while Bevy and I sat by the tree, looking with excitement at the presents. Grandma sang Christmas carols while she made coffee for Mama, who was still in bed, and hot chocolate for us. It was wonderful having my grandma stay with us, not only because she is one of my favorite relatives in the world, but also because my mother is also nicer when we have guests. It's like Mama stepped through a magic door and came out the other side as someone else. She would laugh and smile and keep saying she loved me when I'd say goodnight. I knew from past experience her transformation would disappear once it was just the four of us again. It was very confusing, but it was nice to have a break from tiptoeing around waiting for a bomb to go off. My grandma is super. She understands what it's like to be 13, even though it must have been forever since she was 13 herself. I only get to see her twice a year because she lives in Texas, but we get along better than any of my Ontario relatives. My Toronto cousin said, "It's because Grandma doesn't spend enough time with you to know what you're really like." I think it's because my grandma loves me, no matter how mixed up or silly I get. I always thought it would be really great if Grandma and Granddad got married. Then I could always see both of them. Unfortunately, even though Grandma says she really likes Granddad, she would miss Texas and the warm winters too much. Grandma stayed for almost 3 weeks, which was great, and apparently it wasn't enough time to really get to know me because she still loved me at the end of it. However, once she had gone back to Texas, I was glad to go back to school. Being home was always harder in the winter. In the summer, I have 2 acres to hide in. In the winter, I only have my bedroom. At school, everyone would want to know what I got for Christmas. I don't think anyone really wanted to know. They just wanted to make sure that I didn't get anything better than they did. What I really wanted to get was a blue plaid shirt like Brent always wore, but my mother said they weren't feminine, so I didn't get one. But I mostly got what I hoped for. I was really excited when I opened the gift from my godmother. It was a box of chocolate-covered cherries. No one had ever given me a whole box of chocolate before. You can imagine my excitement. It even made up for the fact that Bevy got the Dr. Scholl's sandals I begged for in the summer and didn't get because I was told we couldn't afford them. You can bet I wasn't going to share the chocolates with anyone. You should have seen my face when I opened them. I thought I was going to cry. Instead of rows of delicious cherries, there was a row of underwear. They were nice enough. Each had a day of the week on them. But it wasn't the same. Anyway, you may think that once Christmas is over, boredom sets in, especially living in the country. But winter brings additional excitement to Brindley. We rarely got as much snow as other parts of Ontario, but there was enough to find a hill somewhere to toboggan down. There were even some tiny ski hills if you were interested in hurling yourself down a slope. You can also make snowmen in forts, but snowball fights are the biggest athletic event. If they had an Olympic category for snowball throwing, our town would surely supply the whole team. Oh, the skill demonstrated by the boys. It is something else. The level of enthusiasm is higher with snowballs than baseball. You can have 1 or more people participate. You don't necessarily get in trouble for hitting someone accidentally on purpose, and there is a whole protocol involved. If you're a boy and have a snowball thrown at you by another boy, it can mean 2 things. 1, someone hates you, or secondly, you're being attacked in a friendly rivalry. If a girl throws a snowball at a boy, then people say you are forward and just ask him for one thing. I don't really understand what that means. That's why I won't throw a snowball at a guy, in case it means something really bad. Girls, on the other hand, only get snowballs thrown at them if a boy likes her. A boy would never throw a snowball at a girl he didn't like, and most definitely, he would never throw hard enough to hurt. That was an unwritten rule that all the boys obeyed. Michelle always had snowballs being thrown at her. She would walk across the schoolyard, and it was like an instant blizzard, snowballs flying all over the place. I've had other things thrown at me before. Stinky Thompson used to throw puffballs at me, and Stacy threw a golf ball at me, but I'd never had a snowball thrown at me. How I longed for someone to hit me, just once. I made the mistake of trying to explain this concept to my family over the Christmas holidays. Mama said I most certainly hope not, in a horrified tone. She grew up in Texas, so I don't think she knows what snowballs are for. Even though Grandma grew up in California, where they almost never got snow, she understood. She just smiled and said, "Why, I think any boy would be honored to throw a snowball at you." She always knows how to make me feel good. So the first day back to school, wearing a new outfit that actually fit me and my Monday underwear, I followed the blizzard of snowballs across the yard, hoping some of Michelle's strays would hit me by mistake, dreaming that the snowballs were really meant for me. I know, pretty pathetic. But Michelle got so many thrown at her, she wouldn't miss one or two. A snowball whizzed by my face. How exciting! Another one knocked my hat off. Boy, did someone have bad aim. Another one hit me in the arm. I turned to see who the lousy shot was, and there was Rodney, grinning as he scooped to form another ball. This time there was no mistaking it. It was carefully aimed right at my head. What joy! I did the mandatory scream and scuttle for protection at the school wall. I turned to the wall and covered my face with my hands. I waited patiently. I'd waited my whole life for that moment. I could wait a few more seconds. Nothing happened. I was bitterly disappointed. I turned to see where he had gone, and I was instantly rewarded by a handful of ice-cold snow headed directly for my face. I let out a squeal and whipped my face back behind the wall. I misjudged the distance of the wall in the excitement, and the wall met my face with a groan. My head started to swell up above my eyebrow. I felt something cold and sticky drip down my face. One of the boys came to look and immediately looked like he was going to pass out, and that was the boy who also requested the rodeo song in my class. You know, that's the song about the cowboy who fell off his horse, and his horse stepped on him, leaving him in a pile of blood and guts? I felt fine. I didn't mind at all. Rodney was looking most concerned and was romantically apologizing. If I had had more experience, I might have swooned or something, but I didn't want to push my luck. A teacher took me to the nurse's station. I didn't need stitches or anything. They wanted to know who did it, but I told them it was my fault. I didn't even mention Rodney. I had a big bump that was turning the same colors as Miss Jenkinson's polyester jumpsuit. I would have had a hard time explaining it to my mother when I got home, but it was definitely worth it. Finally, someone threw a snowball at me.